The Aston Martin's form has revealed yet again just how bad and inconsistent the inherited driver of the team, Lance Stroll, actually is. Even though he outperformed Alonso in Barcelona and made a couple of solid moves to move to P2 in lap 1 of the race, the consistency and the race pace is a factor that's likely to determine his future with the team in the negative connotation. Although his father and the owner of the team, Lawrence Stroll, has hinted towards a lifetime contract for his son, the team might want to move away from him if they want to see another surge in success. Lance Stroll started the season with his new teammate, the two-time champion Fernando Alonso, and unlike Vettel, who was already at the closing doors of his career, Alonso doesn't plan to stop anytime soon, a feature that's highlighting the bad performance of Stroll. Apart from the DNF in Jeddah, one that wasn't certainly his fault, the rest of the races went in a very poor manner if you compare the fact that Alonso had 5 podium finishes out of 7 races this season, missing out only in Barcelona and Baku. But even with this, Alonso is now ready to bring the team to the next level, and even though he's playing the role of a good Samaritan and is constantly praising the surge of Stroll, the facts say otherwise, and they spell bad news for the Canadian driver. From the 7 races this season, he's managed to finish 6th, DNF, 4th, 7th, 12th, DNF, and 6th, which allowed him to gather 35 points compared to Alonso's 99. As of now, they comprise the biggest points difference between two teammates, with Verstappen and Alonso being close to this spectre as well. But considering how strong Verstappen is driving and what kind of car he has under his belt, it's not unusual for the second driver to deliver nearly the same as a generational talent like the Dutchman. What does seem like bad news for the team more than it does for Stroll is that his father, Lawrence, is not ready to give up on his son's seat, as he added that he will be present in the team for as long as he's leading it. Obviously, the Silverstone base squad is moving in the right direction, and now with more independence from Mercedes, they're likely to even be stronger and more competitive in the remainder of the season, with Alonso highlighting the upgrade package in Montreal as crucial to catching up to the top teams. Yet, in a fight that could see Aston Martin snatching the second place in the Constructors' Championship from Mercedes or Ferrari, they definitely need both of their drivers finishing the race in the high point, and not just have one on the podium finish and the rest is battling for scrap points. The percentage haul of Stroll to Alonso is just 29.03%, and it's by far the lowest of the 8 teams that have both of its drivers to score points. Now, the situation is a lot different for Lance, who although has secured a seat for as long as he would like to drive, has one thing that no other F1 driver has: his father owning the team he drives in. Therefore, he knows that no matter what he says or what he does, he'll have the ace in his sleeve to bail out of any awkward situation, which might be the #1 reason as to why Alonso has praised him so much in the 2023 season. Nonetheless, Stroll is nowhere near where he's supposed to be, and even with a competitive car, something he didn't have from 2017 when he scored a podium in Baku, he's showing no signs of improvement. And if you know a thing or two about his father, you'd understand that he's very impatient to start scoring wins and compete for championships, a feature that for a team of the likes of Aston Martin could be done only if both of the drivers are performing at a top-notch level. With the current dominance of Red Bull and the new upgrade package that's been introduced to both Ferrari and Mercedes, Aston Martin will have a very difficult task of remaining the best of the rest that aren't named Red Bull, a task in which the team is set to fail with the current form of Stroll. If you were Lawrence Stroll, you probably wouldn't have fired your son either, but if you put yourself in the shoes of Lance, if you're a genuine F1 fanatic that made the rare percentage of people who actually got to drive in the sport and want to prove something to the rest of the world, that he wouldn't be performing as Lance does. The Monaco disaster should have brought more common sense to his head, but all he did was wonder whether he should smile or laugh at the incident. And when talking about the slippery condition failures of the AMR 23, Lance said, "I had some issues with the car and couldn't slow down. I hit the wall like 5 times. I started feeling the car struggling to slow down before the rain, and then when it started to rain, I just couldn't start to slow down the car. Laugh or cry, you know, you might as well laugh." Yeah, if your father owns the team, you'll laugh as well, but is the patience of Lawrence infinite towards his kid? Alonso is definitely playing the long game by praising Stroll, highlighting his moves and giving him some free advice, even going to the extent of not passing him in Barcelona even though he was much faster because he wanted the optimum result for the team and not for himself. So if Alonso beats Stroll, he could brag about beating a future world champion, as he labelled the Canadian himself, but if he loses to him, then he would praise his speed and agility and show that he was beaten by the same future world champion. But if there is one thing that we know about Alonso, is that the old fox isn't giving up that easily on the third championship, and now in the first year with the Silverstone-based squad, he's gathering information as to how he should approach the entire situation with the Strolls. What seems to be the bigger issue with Stroll now? He was competitive with Vettel, so it's not like he's lost the passion to drive, as the problem seems to be elsewhere: Aston Martin's recent surge in form. As of now, Stroll would have been praised if he entered Q3 or finished in the point, at least until the previous season. But from 2023 on, the performance of Alonso is something that put the team in the right direction, and Stroll needs to up his game to catch up to the two-time world champion, not just for himself, but for the good of the team as well. You don't get to win the second or third place in the Constructors' Championship if there is only one driver winning the good point, as a similar situation happened last year between McLaren's teammates, with the difference that the team wasn't fighting for the second but fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. The pressure definitely got to him, and while he's certain that the team will keep him for as long as his father is leading the consortium of Aston Martin and is the president of the company, it could eventually be one of the costliest decisions that the team has made. It's not a guarantee that Alonso himself will keep playing the Good Samaritan role, especially not if the AMR 23, or the next version of the car, shows itself to be capable of winning races, and this is where the weakest point of Stroll's career will show up: inconsistency and folding under pressure. As of now, he's been out-qualified by Alonso 1-6 and has been able to finish above him in the previous race only, which points towards an urgent need of change of mindset, one in which Stroll would have to step up his game and show that the couple of podiums he's won in his career were not on pure luck but merit. But what is also worth talking about is whether his father will realise that his son is costing him so much money and is actually the bleeding source of the team, and will they have one of the most awkward father-son talks of all time. Stroll needs to pick up the pace and show something that we've been able to see in the wet Japanese GP last year, one in which the Canadian has channeled his inner Max Verstappen and spotted a slither of dry track by the pit wall to rock up the throttle and have an amazing start of the race. However, it seems like the comfort zone that his father provided to him is something that's not only ruining his F1 talent and career, but also the team's progress and potential, which could only translate to bad news for the team and the entire leadership. If things continue like this, the investors in Aston Martin could raise some questions about the decision to leave Stroll in the team and may ask Lawrence to make some much necessary moves in order to move further up the grid, the common goal of everyone involved in the investment part of Aston Martin. So whether this will happen, time will tell, but as of now, things aren't looking great for the young Canadian driver.